Welcome to the MK Nature Center. My name is Sarah and I'm a wildlife educator here with Idaho Department of Fish and Game. Today I'd like to show you around and tell you a little bit about the Nature Center. Maybe you've been here before. If that's the case, some of this will look familiar. If you haven't been here before, I hope you can come down and visit. The Nature Center grounds are open and free to the public 7 days a week from dawn to dusk. The Nature Center was designed and created 30 years ago. Back then, this 5-acre space was just a flat, weedy field. Some biologists and engineers decided to make an animal habitat where animals could live and visit and people could come see them. That's what the Nature Center is all about, wildlife habitat. The animals here are not in enclosures, they're wild. They can come and go as they please. In order for us to attract them, we need the 4 things that animals need to survive. Food, water, shelter, and space. Those are the 4 components of habitat. No matter if you're an elephant on the African savanna, a shorebird along the ocean, or a squirrel right here in Boise, Idaho, you need food, water, shelter, and space. Of course, animals live in different habitats. They eat different things, they use water in different ways, and they find and build different kinds of shelter. Habitat is specific to each animal. But there are many animals that occupy the same habitat, like here at the Nature Center. We have a riparian habitat. That means the area right around rivers, ponds, and creeks. A lot of animals like riparian habitats. It's a very popular place to live. And they live here together, doing different things and interacting with each other. We'll talk more about what animals do and how they interact with each other as we explore this habitat. Let's get going. We are going to walk around the Nature Center's stream walk loop. We'll end up at the Big Sturgeon Pond. We're going to be talking about food, water, shelter, and space. But to keep it simple, let's start by talking about an animal I know you will see when you visit the Nature Center, a rainbow trout. Let's take a look here. In this window, we see rainbow trout looking for food and hiding from predators. They use logs and branches to hide under. It's their shelter. They face upstream looking for insects to eat, their food, and of course, it's not hard to see how rainbow trout use water. That leads me to a point. Habitat sounds simple. It's only 4 things, right? Food, water, shelter, and space. But each of those things might be complicated or specific. Let me give you an example. Let's talk about how Idaho Chinook salmon use water. Salmon eggs need fresh, cold, clean, moving water in order to survive. Young salmon smolts need water that's connected and flowing to the ocean. Adult salmon need salty ocean waters with currents and favorable temperatures. And finally, at the end of their lives, salmon need fresh water again, flowing, clean, and cold. Let's stop here and check out another animal habitat. These rocks make great habitat for spiders. They use these cracks and crevices as their shelter, and they spin and weave webs to help them catch food, which is again insects. Spiders don't really drink water. They just slurp out the insides of the insects they eat. Wow! So far we've talked about animals that eat insects. But as you know, some animals eat plants, some eat meat, and some will eat just about anything. Here at the Nature Center, it's easy to provide for plant eaters. We just plant trees, flowers, and shrubs. Animals come here to eat the plants, and voila! We have food for meat eaters. Some animals come here to hunt other animals. I have seen mink catch fish and crayfish. I've seen a Cooper's hawk hunt ducks. And I've seen great blue heron spear fish. Here we are at the Nature Center's largest viewing window. Here's where I like to show people how animals can live in the same habitat together. Let's look at this underwater lake habitat. We can see rainbow trout and we can see suckerfish. This is a great example of how 2 different types of fish can share a space but not really have to fight over food, water, or shelter. Every animal in nature has a slightly different job to do. It's called a biological niche. It's a trout's job to eat insects. It's a suckerfish's job to suck algae off the rocks at the bottom. This way they can both live here and not really bother each other. Here's an example of niche. A red-tailed hawk's job in nature is to catch mice. That is the same job as a great horned owl. So you might think they have to fight and compete for food, but they do it at different times, day and night. So you know all about habitat, and you know every animal has a specific job in their habitat. The next thing we need to consider are adaptations. Adaptations are features on an animal's body or their behavior that help them survive in their habitat. Just like jobs people have, animals have jobs that require tools. Let's look at an example. Here is my favorite animal, the American beaver. The beaver lives in this watery riparian habitat. A beaver's niche in nature is to chop down trees for food and shelter. In order to do this, they have special adaptations, such as waterproof fur, webbed feet, strong incisors, and clear eyelids. All those adaptations I just showed you are on a beaver's body. We call those physical adaptations. But beavers, and all other animals, also have behavioral adaptations, or things they do that help them survive. For example, beavers come out mostly at night. That helps by keeping them safe from most of their predators. They build dams and lodges in the spring, summer, and fall so that they can store food and stay warm in the winter. Another behavioral adaptation of the beaver is when they slap their tail down hard on the water to warn family members of danger. As you've learned, animals use their adaptations to fill their niche in a habitat. Everything is balanced and everyone can do their job well. However, habitats can change. And if an animal's habitat changes, then they no longer have a job to do in that habitat. And if they no longer have a job, then their tools aren't useful to them. Humans often alter habitat for several reasons. Sometimes we can take away a habitat, but sometimes, like with the Nature Center, we can build more habitat. We provided food, water, shelter, and space so animals can find their niche and use their adaptations. You don't need an entire nature center to help wild animals. There are plenty of simple things you can do at home to build wildlife habitat. Thanks for joining me on this tour of MK Nature Center. I hope you can make it down to explore this habitat on your own. And while you're here, don't forget to look at the amazing white sturgeon.